Maybe when I'm famous afterwards, you will say, "Look at this garden." Okay, so, well, are you familiarized with permaculture? I mean, have you heard? Like, let's say, have you heard the word before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and some of you have like know what it is like deeply. You know you live in like a permaculture house. Okay, so but like in a very few words, because it's a concept that it's so big that sometimes you can take it from different views. But it is permaculture. Culture comes from permanent culture. So how can we find a way that we can create homes, communities, in the future cities that allow us to stay permanently in the time without harming our surrounding, without harming nature, you know? So it's like, how can we be nature again, right? How can we really create things that are like the new generations will receive something that is the same or better, right? So this thing was born in Australia, like in the 70s. These guys were trying to do permanent agriculture, but then they realized that there is not such a thing as permanent agriculture if you don't have a permanent culture that involves how you build your houses, what you do with your waste, what you do with your poop, how you treat your elder, how you teach your kids. So it touches every aspect of life. So it's like a way of living, it's a way of designing, right? So when I came here 8 years ago, I didn't know about permaculture. I think I maybe heard the concept before, but I came here with the idea of living a more sustainable way, and sustainability and ecology were my words at that time. So I started like designing by observing, and after a while, after a couple of years, I realized that permaculture was a good way to explain what I was doing. So I'm not very religious about the word, but I think it's a key word for ciao Elena, nos vemos. So we milked a cow one day. Everyone gave me. That's my cow party. So okay. So then I say, yeah, okay, this is the word I will use for explaining things. So, and then, so much. Let's come over here. So much information in my brain. Yeah. Se vaya los cabros para poder concentrarme. Chao, cabros, nos vemos.
Chao.
So this idea of permaculture invites you to really observe and design, observing what nature is telling you, right? It's like not do what you want, but like trying to observe and interact, right? So that's the principle number one of permaculture: observe and interact. So when I came here and like you say, okay, I'm gonna start building, I'm gonna start constructing like a home, right? What can I see of the place? What this place wants to tell me? So at the beginning I was like, okay, you know what? So since this is the only flat area in this whole 14 acres of land, this is like the most, hey, you know what? This could be a good place for putting the garden. But I'm also gonna put my house close to the garden because I want to go many times through the garden, right? And so you see like my work, let's say the common area, I go every time through the garden when I go there. So I can use that to observe what's going on there, right? So then the nursery, what I'm placing the nursery there, it's the first place that the sun is shining where, and also it's close to my house. And you know what? I have the solar heater for heating my water, but I can also use the solar heater to water the plants with warm water during the cold month. And then the chicken coop is there, you know, like it's close enough to my house that I can hear the chickens, and I also can put the compost there, and then I can collect the manure for the garden, right? So you start trying to design to have like a effective way of using the energy, but at the same time to value the natural resources, okay? So yeah, this process of design comes along with the observation, right? Where is the sun coming from? Where is the wet places to put your garden? Where is the wind coming from? Is this more protected from the wind? I am gonna put my house up there in the hill where the best view is, or maybe I will think twice and think, maybe I sacrifice a little bit the view, but I put it in a place where it's like more sunny or like more like cloud close to the garden, right? So yeah. Well, then an element. So we have why do we have this organic garden? So first, it's like, okay, we wanted to produce our own food during the year, and how do we produce it? With organic compost that we produce here, right? So this little garden here, that it's little for some people, it could be big for others, produce like enough food to feed us the whole veggies the whole year round. And at the beginning, it was just like a summer garden, but then I realized after like a process of, you know, try and error, which is like also part of permaculture, you're always trying to improve your system, that there was certain crops that resist very well during the winter, right? So nowadays I have found the way to produce enough veggies during the whole year. So in winter, for example, we're not planting things, but we have like a living fridge there. So we plant now in February. I plant the carrots for the winter. So now is the time to organize for the year, and then is the time to use the energy of the sun, to collect that energy of the sun to capture it in the ground, right? So the second principle of permaculture is collect and storage energy, and that can come in many ways. So that's a very good example, like collecting the energy from the sun, storage it as food on the ground for winter. Another way is collect the energy of the sun and storage it as hot water for the day. Collect the energy from the sun with your house pointing to the north, here in the south hemisphere, and in your case will be the south. So you put your house pointing to the south, so you will collect energy, so your house will be warm in the night. So when you see energy, you're always trying to capture it and store it like somehow, right? So it could be like ferments. And this principle has a beautiful thing below. It says, collect the hay while the sun is shining, right? So when there's abundance of some energy, you collect it for when there will be less energy available. That could be day and night, or it could be summer, winter, or it could be wet year versus a dry year, right? So I'm always looking at, you know what, there is some energy flowing here. What can I get out of here? So for example, with the rocket stove, we're storaging, instead of sending that hot pipe up to the atmosphere and losing a lot of heat, we try to storage the energy on the clay, yeah? So yeah, I love the greenhouses and many aspects, right? So you're always trying to be, look at this, I'm not gonna waste this energy, like the poop. The poop is another way of energy that you, instead of putting it as a waste, you collected it as a nutrient for your fruit trees, right? And so on. Then, did you guys at all walk to the waterfall here? No?
I didn't know that.
Okay, let's go. So, what else can I tell you about this place? Good morning, guys. So, I'm gonna drive you here. So, you know, like we always also, I'm gonna jump to principle number 12, which is respond creatively to change, right? We're in a world that is changing, and it's a crazy world, and like we can either cry and say, oh no, my God, like this is going to hell, or I can answer creatively to change. So this, for example, I'm planting an olive tree, which is very rare here in Patagonia, but climate is changing. So I am responding creatively to change, right? Thinking, okay, maybe in a couple of years I will be able to produce olive oil here in Patagonia, which seemed like crazy 10 years ago, right? Over here we have a medicinal garden, but maybe you guys already are like trying to get familiarized with this idea of like natural medicine, right? When you're growing your food, when you're like living with nature, when you're observing nature, you start trying to find your medicine in pills, right? It's something that like naturally it's like, why will I find, like, if I'm finding my health in food, while I find my medicine in pills, right? So for me, I'm very like skeptic right now about pills. So I try to, even though I'm a beginner of natural medicine, I'm really trying to make a big effort to connect with it, because I truly think that the way of like taking care of myself, my health insurance is what I consume, having like sunshine, right? And so on. So this is a little, I have like 15 different plants here, and then they have different uses, and I still don't know all of them, but I'm collecting as much medicinal plants I can, because yeah, you learn. And even this, you know, this is a weed, and it's like, this is plantain, right? And it's growing here in front of us, and it's a very powerful medicine, right? So and there is like other people that say that like what you need will grow around you, right? So this is with the aspect of medicine. So you know, permaculture is a big umbrella, and a medicinal garden, it will be inside permaculture. Bioclimatic architect, it will be also inside permaculture. So for you guys to get motivated, you could also be a permaculture person living still in a 20 story in a city. It's more how you go through life than living next to a garden. Naturally, I feel like with the years you will tend to go more to live in the countryside, but like you don't have to wait to live in the countryside to say, you know what, I practice permaculture. Okay? So we have a little nursery here. This is where we grow our little plants. Before they go in there. And now, since it's a very warm place, we also use it for drying wood, you know, for making furniture afterward. And now, since there's a space and I want to use it wisely, I have like peppers in there growing right at this point. But normally, it's for growing the seedlings, right? Let's continue here. I'm gonna try to squeeze this, because normally I take 2 hours. And like, that's already squeezed. So I'm like, I don't know what is less important, so maybe I will just cut it at some point. So
That makes us come back.
yeah, sure. So I don't know if you can ready. This is the construction we're building right now. This is the free permaculture school. This is a place that we are building for what we're talking right now. You know, there is all this knowledge available, but the problem is that people is not getting to this knowledge. It's still permaculture, organic biodynamics, like organic agriculture. It's like kind of like exclusive for people that have money. That's the problem. So what we're gonna do with this place is to try to put the info available for everyone that wants to learn, right? And try to that gap of financial gap, which we're gonna try to make it more even, right? So we're following an ethical principle of permaculture that is fair share, right? Distribute the resources. There's a lot of people that will happily pay $500 for a course here, and there's other people that impossible. That sounds like a crazy idea, right? So with the people that can pay $500, we could like subsidize the people that can pay $10, right? So that's the idea in very short words of this place, and many people will come to teach, not just me, but anyone that has something to say about sustainable living, education, that it's aligned with this place. This place we have built it just with a fundraising campaign. So, and we build it ourselves. So it goes to we can relate it with the principle of slow and small solutions, right? So this is a place that we're building slowly, but we don't have a debt. It's with natural materials that impact a little bit the world. As we don't have a debt, we could have reasonable prices afterwards, right? And it's a human scale, you know. It's bio construction, you know. You could come with, and like the impact that it has a bio construction is way less in towards the environment, right? The roof, on top of the roof, there is a sheep wool as insulation. There's a layer of sheep wool. The walls are, as you see, straw bales that we're gonna plaster with the clay that we get right from here, from the cut, when we cut there. So it's like basically very local material. And then the reciprocal roof, I just fell in love when I saw it one day, and I think I say that it's like communities, right? We are interdependent, right? We all need each other, and if one fail, the whole thing collapses. So, you know, it's like it invites us to really be in community again, right? We depend, like the only way we could live we can put out there the dream of like sustainable communities is if we understand that we're interdependent, right? If my tongue doesn't change, it has no meaning this project, because you could have like the best like bubble, but your neighbor could be cutting the forest and polluting the waters, and your other neighbor will be using chemicals thing, and then you will be still trapped in there. So if we want a real change, we have to involve community. Yeah? That's why it's so important. And like the day where you were not here, so we prepared this because the kindergarten did their graduation here. So it was a crazy day. That day in between, there was like 40 people here, and like for us it's like an effort because a bunch of kids destroying. Like, it's very important because we truly believe that it's our signature, right? To work with community, right? Not to be like a place where they're full of gringos. Okay. So yeah, let's go because I could tell you so much more about this, but I have no time. Now it's a little bit out of place because now the school is in between, so we have to relocate it. And we say that we are pirates because we are ecological pirates in an upside down world, right? Where defending nature is something like you are the pirate, right? It's like a crazy thing, right? So it's an analogy. Syntropic agriculture is another way of growing food and medicine and wood. This is kind of like the evolution of like there will be a garden because it's mimicking the forest, and the forest, the forest tends always to be bigger and stronger and like more fertility. The garden, you start every year from zero. So for me, like the garden, it will be like a tool. It's something like more like a tool, but the real food sovereignty, like what will really sustain a family, is something that looks more like a forest, because this thing has the potential of fertilize on its own, right? So what I'm doing here is planting. These are huge trees, like they will grow like huge, but through pruning, through managing the forest like a gnome, because you act like you understand that you are nature, so you understand that you're like a bird, making their nest. Also, you come here and then you can interact with the forest, and you will fertilize just by managing the forest, right? So the idea is that I will never use compost here, because for compost I will have to take my truck, go somewhere else, take fertility from somewhere else, and bring it here. So at the end, if we all want to present a model that works, you cannot be taking fertility from your neighbor, right? So you have to come with an idea that produces fertility inside. And forest that's forest, right? Forest has the potential to produce fertility on site, right? So how do we manage forest in a wise way that we can have abundance? This is it, right? So this is an experiment. Believe it or not, I planted all these trees except these couple big ones this year. So there is a new design, and it already has so much light in it. And right here we have this wood here. So these pieces of wood are here to feed the ground, right? So it's a baby forest. First we give like a baby food that it will be like wood chips, and then we start giving big chunks when there's enough mycelium and fungi, they will eat that, right? So this is the first year. Imagine how it will be the second year and the third year, right? So yeah, syntropic agriculture is something. It's a new concept, but it's very powerful. It's very interesting. It's from a Swiss guy that lived in Brazil. And I think it's like in this agroforestry new things that are coming, it's a big one. Yeah, so maybe if you're interested about this, you will be hearing about it, and it's super fun also. I have a lot of fun by building this forest. So the bathroom, right? So all the blue tanks on the bottom is where the poop is going. Then we just get the poop very easy and put it on those compost wooden things there. And after 8 months, I have black soil, right? So instead of treating my poop as a waste and polluting water and just being part of a problem, we just cycle that very quick, right? Like, so the shower water goes directly here, the poop here and here. So you have a cycle, and it's like so short. It's very short cycle instead of having like a long cycle of pollution, right? So for me, like it's like after using the toilet for 8 years, I will never go back to normal toilet. Make no sense for me. I have one the same inside my house. I've been practicing, like trying to get a design that has no fly and no smell, and so far it's good. If you know how to use it, you get a very clean system, and yeah. So about that, yeah, it's a very nice system. So it's a good solution, and we had just to know how we will implement it in big scale, right? But there is options nowadays. Yeah, so the compost is there. We have these red worms that eat the poop, and back to nature.
Kind of dog poop.
Dog poop, I think it just go back to nature.
The urine, do you have to like dilute it, or where is?
With the
With
urine,
like
the
water?
urine gets mixed with the shower water
Oh,
and with
okay.
the sink water, and then it just diluted. And like urine, myself, every time I want to pee, I go to a fruit tree. I don't waste my pee. My pee is precious. My pee is like, all your pee, not just my pee. So pee is precious. Really, pee is like full of nutrients. So like we have the capacity to fertilize the ground. So I always tell the volunteers and Cheo and myself, if I want to pee, I just go running to a fruit tree, and you'll see how it flourishes, right? So yeah, we start connecting and like understanding that we are part of this. It's not that we go visit nature. We are nature, and we just have to behave like that, right? That little tree house up there is where that's Cheo's house. That's where the cook lives. Yeah, it's a very nice room in there. And yeah, so let's go. We're talking like 3 hours here about the forest. In this forest is where we collect our wood. Any tree that dies, just make it into wood for this. This will be the wood for for my house, for like 4 years. It's really again, slow and small solutions. Like one day, if you have the opportunity to build your own house, build it the smallest you can that is comfy for you, right? So small house will bring just benefits for you. Big house, exactly the opposite. You will be a slave of a big house. A small house, you heat up quick. You don't have to get a big lawn to build it. You don't have to spend much time cleaning, and you won't destroy the wall while trying to sustain that big white elephant, right? So, yeah, just put that in your mind. Small house, small house. Okay? I'm comfy, huh? I'm not gonna show you my house now because we don't have time, but I live in a beautiful small house that has everything what I want. Very comfy, that is as small as I could put it in a comfy way. It doesn't mean that you have to be like crashing the things, right? This principle number 3 says always obtain a yield. What it means always obtain a yield, it means that whatever you do, whatever work you're doing, for the energy you're putting, you have to always get some reasonable yield, right? So let's say you are going into the forest to forage for mushroom, right? So if you're gonna spend 2 days foraging for mushroom and spending all that energy, you better get something bigger than the energy you spend foraging the mushrooms. In the case of, for example, the chickens, you know, it's very romantic, the idea of having chickens, but it can it can be easily be like a hole where the energy goes in your system, let's say, because sometimes you have to feed them, you have to take care of them. So if feeding them and taking care of them is more expensive than the actual eggs that they're giving you, then maybe you have to reconsider if they're a good idea for your system, right? But you can also put on the balance, you can also put happiness. So if things give you happiness, it also has a value, but you also have to be reasonable with that, right? Same with foraging mushrooms. If foraging mushroom made you happy, okay, but like how much money and energy you spend going there? Because you have to be, if you really want to live sustainable living, you have to be very like precise, efficient, right? So this way of living for me, it's hard work, but it's a good hard work, right? I really enjoy, but I do have to be working smartly, efficient. My construction have to be good for the system to work, right? So in my case, the chickens, I have chickens, but they're barely made into the system. I think the happiness part is what makes them there, because at the end, you know, I love the idea of having the chickens and harvesting my own eggs, but economically, I'm not getting any money from that, right? But it's even, so I have them, right? Because it makes me happy there every morning to get my egg. Yeah, so always obtain a yield, right? For you guys, you spend so much energy and put carbon print to come here. I don't want to make you feel guilty, but obtain a yield out of this trip. You know, learn, observe, change your mind, interact with your friends, learn from the culture, and yeah, so make the best out of this trip, okay? Yeah, straight, and then you will offset the carbon print for sure. You know, when I travel, I also like to travel, but I'm very aware of the energy I'm spending when I travel. So I really always, when I go somewhere, I take a course, so I obtain a yield out of the trip. So that maybe it's a good like way to see it, right?
Oh, this is so awesome.
So this is a beautiful corner. I don't know if you visited before. This is also a medicinal corner, right? So we have the fresh water here, and then we have a sauna. So we could like interact with nature, with the warm place, with the cold water, right? So it's like a place of reflection, for enjoying nature, to connect, right? More than a place to just have fun, is for me like a medicinal corner, right? And yeah, we do cold plunges here. We go to the sauna, get very hot and then cold. So, and it's beautiful, huh?
Yeah.
This was when I came here, it was like full of trunks all covered. It was all muddy. So I built this little platform and I put a little wood there to raise the water like 20 centimeters. So all water was mud. Now it's covered in water, and it's way nicer. So here you see this. In winter, this waterfall is huge, and I lift this. And yeah, the town is very nice. Next time you come, you use the town. And Okay, we're gonna complete the work, but I think we're gonna work. Okay, yeah. I think we'll help. Okay, let's go. You know, we are the only ones that will self-regulate ourselves in the way of like how much resources we use, you know, how much energy we spend. So same thing, self-regulation. Like if I'm the only one that will tell that my house will be small, or I'm the only one that will tell, you know what, I'm not gonna travel 20 times per year in an airplane, even if I can. So, or I'm not gonna make bonfire every day, even if I have the wood to do it, because I'm thinking about the next generations. So that's something also new for our mind, that we're completely disconnected. Nowadays, the capitalistic world lives for the day and no one cares about the future. And we had to start thinking on the new generations. And like this whole project is towards new generations. So we're planting trees that the next generation are gonna enjoy, right? So the phrase below this says, all your actions will impact even up to 7 generations. So yeah, it calls you to be conscious of what you do, what your actions are. Okay. The guy, I got here. Like wood, right? So people nowadays think that petrol or like electric cars, batteries is a solution. No, like the solution is in renewable resources, like wood, like sun, like wind. So here we heat up our houses with the wood from the forest that we can renew, right? Heat up your house with the sun. Or you focus on those things, right? Rather than like, I'm gonna buy a very expensive oil stove for my house, or like, yeah. So you're always trying to solve your problems and your energy expenses while observing nature and trying to use some things that are renewable, right? Because if I create systems that depend on non-renewable things, then they're not gonna be working for the next generations, right? So, for example, yeah, like the school. I really think that the school is gonna be there for more than 100 years. So I'm thinking about, I'm gonna put there a wooden stove, because that's the thing that I know that is gonna work in 100 years. I don't think the oil is gonna be there for 100 more years, or like the lithium batteries, or like all those things. No, you know, like I wouldn't put like expensive, like, you know, heater with a gas tank. No, because I don't think that's permanent. But I do know that forest, if I manage it the right way, it will be permanent, right? So it will be like, oh, this is a very fancy construction. Why do you use a wooden stove? Because it's the most permanent thing I know. And if I take care of wood and I insulate this, is the best solution and the more permanent one, right? And yeah, that's a good example, okay? We're doing the accelerator.
Gold.
Here is your house. So this is where we practice something that is called holistic management of animals. So I don't know if you hear about it. Thank you. So we try to manage the animals in a way that is regenerating prairie instead of deploying it, right? Instead of like overgrazing, right? So there is a way to have animals in the way that is good for the environment, right? So the problem is not the cows, not even to eat meat, right? So nowadays, yeah, of course, the meat industry is horrible. I don't eat meat from the industry. If I eat meat, I eat meat that is from a source that I know that is first, it was fair with the animal life, and secondary, that it makes sense to me, local, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's a big topic, the vegetarian and vegan topic, because I do think those things that are movements that came from the city, yeah, and apply in the city. When you are interacting with animal, with nature, I feel like, and you do it in a respectful way, for me, it's the way to go, for me personally, okay? So I do eat meat, I do try to be there when I kill my animal, to see what's happening, right? To be aware and conscious of what it means to eat a steak, right? Because nowadays people go to McDonald's and they like eat McDonald's and they don't even care. And sometimes they see a cow dying and it's like, oh no, you're killing a cow. That's what you're eating every day when you eat a McDonald's, a dead cow, right? And that cow had the worst life, right? So that's the idea, to be conscious about. And now in Patagonia, it's way more sustainable for the world that I eat a cow than eat soy meat that came from Brazil, where they burn a forest to plant soybean. So, you know, we have to put more variables into this discussion. But I do think, you know, I just want to put it there. We have to think, you know, because when you're in the cities, of course, yeah, it's terrible, the meat industry. But when you are raising your animals and then you see how the poop from your animal goes to sustain your garden, you have more variables that make you think differently, okay? So, yeah. So now this is she's Barbara. She's new from 10 days, and we're milking a cow now, so we're producing our own milk. And I made my first cheese a couple days ago, so you know. And there's grass here to sustain this production of some very powerful food that it will sustain us, right? In a sustainable way, right? We don't have to import things from other places, you know, all that carbon footprint, right? So yeah.
Just these two cows?
Yeah, this is the mother and the calf. We're just milking her, and eventually the calf we will sacrifice him when he's like 7 months old. Yeah, and yeah, it's hard, you know. I will love that calf by that moment, but it's like I raise my animal with love, and I kill them with respect. And it's like it's just a whole thing when you kill an animal, because it's very hard. But you see it with the eyes of like, I am taking your life to sustain life, right? And it's basically what's happening in every aspect, right? Like what fungi does, right? You know, you're taking life from something to sustain more life, right? But yeah, it's a philosophical thing that it takes time, right? It's a big conversation. I'm just squeezing it like.
I don't know. It's so weird. It's a funny noise.
I get it.
enthusiastic value that basically in the garden, in teamwork, and working to make it. That's the reality. When you're planting something and you do some job, always diversity is better. ¿Tú lo sacaste ayer? Ya, hoy te corto que estoy con gente. Me desocupo en 5 minutos. Chao. Yeah. So yeah, Guadal, this is the property. That's where we gather the water so we can distribute it down the property. And Guadal, where nothing but everything happens. That's the motto. And here is use and respond creatively to change. And this is the part where I say, okay, now if something changed in the way you think, if you resonate with this permaculture project, how are you going to respond creatively to that change, right? So now it's up to you guys if you want to adopt any of the things we do here, and it could be small things like even patching your jacket. That's already revolutionary in a world where everyone is just throwing things to the trash, right? So I encourage you to discover more about this world. I promise you that you will have better food, you will be surrounded by nice people, and it's a very rewarding life. You're way more in peace with your surrounding, and it's meaningful and powerful. For me, I don't see another way I would like to live, and I think if you explore this, you'll think the same. Okay?
I might post this on YouTube so you guys could watch it back.
That is so
If any of you one day come and want to teach something, we will stay there. if you want to come back one day, you're all welcome. And more than that, spread the word. I guess like we all nowadays we all have the opportunity either to be part of the problem or be part of the solution. And I think it will be so boring to be part of the problem. So I feel like there is such a big movement, and such a fun movement that's happening, and I'm so enthusiastic about being part of this part of the people that is trying to change things. That like I think like people that's not doing it is like really missing a big opportunity to enjoy this life, because it's a beautiful world, and it's on us to try to help creating peace in the world, right? And yeah. So thank you for the attention, my friends.
Thank you.
Do you have an Instagram?
Yeah, Alma verde permaculture. No.
Did you get that?